Hello there, you're watching L24 Midnight News, and coming up next in our news program. The Zionist War Minister has decided not to give back to the Palestinians the body of the murderer Nasser Abu Hamid, the prisoner who died of cancer. While Ukraine's President Zelensky is in the US for his first distant trip, Putin reveals the new strategy of the Russian army, confirming that they will reach all the goals that have been set. Algeria plans to launch a southern corridor to export huge amounts of electricity to the Sahel countries and Sahara from the south. And amid deadly protests over the impeachment of former President Pedro Castillo, the head of Peru's electoral jury gave Congress the green light to bring forward the general election to the end of the 2023. Welcome again. Starting from the European continent, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Wednesday that his country will achieve all its goals in Ukraine during an assessment meeting with defense leaders, and confirmed that Moscow remains to support and develop its combat abilities for nuclear forces. Hussein Berkan.
Russian President Vladimir Putin promised unlimited military support during an evaluation meeting with defense leaders. In front of his defense minister Shoigu and thousands of military officials, President Putin announced that Moscow will achieve all its goals in Ukraine, despite Western hostilities.
I want to draw the attention of the defense minister, the chief of the general staff, and all the commanders who are represented here. We have no finance restrictions. The country, the government, gives everything that the army asks for. Everything. I hope that the answer will be properly formulated and the corresponding results will be achieved.
President Putin affirmed also to strengthen and develop the nuclear deterrence forces in a comprehensive manner, in accordance with the development in the field.
The armed forces, the combat capabilities of our armed forces are constantly increasing day by day, and this process will certainly take place. We will build up this process. I want to once again thank all those who are doing their duty today at the combat post.
On the other side, and for the first time since the start of the special military operation, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in the United States, in a visit that will fill the Kyiv pocket with new military aid, including in particular the Advanced Patriot Air Defense System. This comes at a time when Congress is preparing to approve a new package of aid to Ukraine worth $45 billion.
In the same line of thought, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that continuing with Western arms supplies to Ukraine would lead to a deepening of the conflict. Ukraine's president is on a trip to Washington, which Moscow said that nothing good would come from, and that Russia saw no chances, or rather no chance of peace talks with Kiev. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Wednesday that it seemed no European countries were conducting a proper investigation into the series of explosions that ruptured the Nord Stream gas pipeline last September.
After the explosions of the Nord Stream pipelines, which it appears nobody in the European Union is going to investigate objectively, Russia stopped gas transportation through the northern routes. In these conditions, we are supplying gas through Black Sea pipelines to anybody who wants to buy it.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced Wednesday a new $1.85 billion military aid package for Ukraine that for the first time includes the Patriot missile system. The leader of U.S. diplomacy made this announcement a few hours before the arrival of President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, who was received by U.S. counterpart Joe Biden at the White House on his first trip since the start of the Russian military operation in Ukraine. Chinese and Russian navies on Wednesday began joint military exercises in the East China Sea. A Chinese military magazine said that joint drills are part of annual cooperation between the Chinese and Russian militaries and will end on Tuesday. Moscow said that main goal of the joint naval exercise is to strengthen naval collaboration between the two countries. Chinese leader Xi Jinping expressed China's willingness to cooperate closely and encourage with Russia for more just and reasonable global governance. During a meeting with Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chair of Russia's Security Council, the Chinese leader noted that over the past decade, bilateral relations between Russia and China have endured a number of tests regarding changes in the international situation, noting that Beijing and Moscow always ensure the harmonious and the stable development of high-level bilateral contacts.
The General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese President Xi Jinping, and I held talks today. We discussed points of cooperation between the two ruling parties of China and Russia. The Chinese Communist Party and United Russia bilateral cooperation within our strategic partnership in all areas, including the economy and industrial production and many other. We also discussed international issues, including, of course, the conflict in Ukraine. The talks were very useful.
Эти переговоры были весьма полезными.
In the Middle East, in a statement released to the Saudi press agency, the Saudi Arabian Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman reaffirmed that OPEC Plus does not politicize decisions. The Saudi minister added that decision taken last October by Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies to reduce oil production has proven its worth in supporting the oil market and industry, despite being harshly criticized. White House said that United States welcomes the European Union's talks with Iran on wide range of challenges, but the nuclear deal is not currently Washington's focus. The Strategic Communications Coordinator of the UN Security Council at the White House, John Kirby, stated that Washington considers that there is no current progress in the Iranian nuclear agreement and also believes that there is no expected progress in the near future, especially in the light of Tehran's violation of human rights and its sending of drones to Russia. In the Palestinian cause, the Zionist authorities have refused to hand over the body of Palestinian prisoner Nasser Abu Hamid, who died from cancer in an occupation prison, to his family for funeral. Zionist war minister decided not to give back the body of the murderer, arguing that his decision was made on recommendation of security officials and in accordance with the cabinet's decision on the policy of holding Palestinian bodies in order to swap them for Zionist captives in the future. Nasser Abu Hamid was diagnosed with lung cancer, but the prison service delayed his transfer to the hospital and neglected his suffering for long months, thus causing his death.
We will not open a mourning house for Nasser until the Zionist authorities give back his body, so we can hold a respectful funeral for him. And then his nation can embrace him after all the fights and sacrifices he made. Thanks God we are being patient.
Palestinian news agency said that the Zionist occupation forces arrested 10 Palestinian citizens from the West Bank. The incursion including raiding homes and firing tear gas. In the same context, settlers renewed the storming of the courtyards of the Blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque and the heavy security from occupation forces who continue to deploy at the gates of Al-Aqsa to obstruct the worshippers' access to the mosque. The UN Security Council expressed deep concern over Libya's ongoing political deadlock, almost 1 year after elections failed to occur. Marim Zian.
It has been a year since elections were to take place in Libya under the UN Peace Initiative, formerly known as the Libyan Political Dialogue Forum, on December 24, 2021. But the delay in the elections has triggered concern over the political deadlock in Libya. Members of the United Nations Security Council expressed their disappointment at the lack of progress, which continues to risk the achievement of stability and the unity of the country. They stress the importance of an inclusive national dialogue and reconciliation process based on the principles of transitional justice and encourage the continuation of the Council's presidential efforts. They called on all Libyan parties to engage in dialogue with Abdoulaye Bathily, the UN Secretary-General's special representative and the head of the UN support mission in Libya, in a spirit of compromise and consensus. The members of the Security Council also called on all parties to adhere to the 23 October 2020 ceasefire agreement and reiterated their call on all parties to expedite the full implementation of its provisions. It is now clear that the only way for change lies in a Libyan dialogue, which will establish a strong constitutional foundation, open the path for fair and transparent elections, and put an end to the transitional phases.
In the African continent, the Sahrawi President and Secretary General of the Polisario Front, Brahim Ghali, has praised the unwavering position of the Republic of South Africa, which is reflected by strong insistence on the need to achieve Africa's freedom and independence. In a congratulation message addressed to the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on the occasion of his re-election as a chairman of the African National Congress Party, President Ali indicated that freedom in Africa will not be achieved without enabling the Sahrawi people to exercise their right to self-determination and independence like all colonized peoples and countries. And this is by the withdrawal of the Kingdom of Morocco from their territories which it illegally occupies. Air traffic controllers in Morocco announced a protest movement paralyzing airport starting next Friday and decided to boycott all air navigation projects in the latest indications of worsening social tension in the kingdom in light of the expansion of the circle of protests against the deteriorating of the purchasing power citizens. Algeria intends to launch a large-scale project aimed at exporting a huge amount of electricity from the south of the country toward the countries of the Sahel and the Sahara. Mohamed Khatal tackled the story in this report.
From north to south, Algeria is diversifying its energy market with a strategic vision that will make it an energy pole by excellence in the whole region. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, announced during a press conference outside of the 4th Algerian-German Energy Day held here in Algiers that Algeria is examining the implementation of a project which aims to export huge amounts of electricity to Africa.
Nous ambitionnons à aussi ouvrir un projet. Nous sommes en train de l'examiner.
We have the ambition to launch a project. We are now examining it. The project is aimed at exporting a huge amount of electricity to Africa, notably to the Sahel countries. The President of the Republic stressed on the implementation of this project, and we are working on that.
This project is supported by another big strategic project aimed at producing 15,000 megawatts of electricity from renewable sources in the south of the country, which records the highest level of sun exposure, amounting to 4,000 hours per year.
Le programme il est tracé, c'est 15,000 mégawatts.
The program is already set. It's 15,000 megawatts produced according to schedule. We will start by preparing the electric network that will fit all the quantities of electricity produced by renewable energies, in addition to the setting up of a smart network allowing to accommodate individual renewable energy productions, without mentioning the establishment of power plants with large capacities ranging between 100 and 300 megawatts at national level and the establishment of a water cable to transport electricity to Europe. Algeria enjoys a unique potential in the world.
It's worth noting that a line linking Algeria to Sardinia will also be launched and will be initially used to export additional quantities of natural gas to Europe, pending the establishment of a real market for hydrogen.
Seen in Africa, 9 people, including 8 children, were killed by armed men who torched dozens of houses in an attack in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Local sources said that the attack occurred in the village of Azimini in Congo's Ituri province on Monday afternoon. The same source added that the bodies were discovered the following morning in the aftermath of the attack, including those of 8 children who had been hacked to death and an elderly woman who had been shot dead. The United Nations Security Council eased the weapons embargo against the Democratic Republic of Congo and renewed a peacekeeping mission there for another year. Under a new resolution, UN member states are no longer required to notify the Security Council of arms sales or military support to the Congolese government. However, arms sales to non-governmental armed groups are still banned. The Congress of Peru has approved a reform that allows the general elections to be brought forward April 2024, 2 years before the deadline set for July 2026. The reform was approved with 93 votes in favor, 30 against and 1 abstention. The mandate of the President of the Republic, who is currently in office, expires on July 28, 2024, while the members of Congress will, at the end of the mandate on July 26, 2024, it is worth mentioning that Peruvians take the streets of Lima to demand peace amid violent protests that have left 2,000 people dead after former President Pedro Castillo was ousted from power.
The proposal to bring forward the election has won. I want to reaffirm the position that we have taken in our parliamentary group. We disagree with bringing forward the elections. We consider that it is a request of former President Castillo, who caused deaths, upset the population, and caused discomfort in the country to achieve his objective. He has achieved his objective of bringing forward the elections, which will not solve any political issue.
The head of the World Health Organization said that the UN agency is worried about a spike in COVID-19 infections in China and is encouraging the government to focus its efforts on vaccinating people at the highest risk across the country. The head of the UN agency, infections have recently spiked in the world's second largest economy.
We had a meeting with China. WHO is very concerned over the evolving situation in China, with increasing reports of severe disease. In order to make a comprehensive risk assessment of the situation on the ground, WHO needs more detailed information on disease severity, hospital admissions, and requirements for ICU support. WHO is supporting China to focus its efforts on vaccinating people at the highest risk across the country, and we continue to offer our support for clinical care and protecting its health system.
And now for more international news, let's follow this roundup by Nabil Khazin.
The Ways and Means Committee in the United States voted to make 6 years of former President Donald Trump's tax return public, potentially ending years of speculations about what they might reveal about his business dealings and personal wealth. As a presidential candidate in 2016, Trump broke decades of precedent by refusing to release his tax forms to the public. In the largest labor unrest to hit Britain's emergency services in decades, thousands of ambulance workers in England and Wales went on strike on Wednesday over pay and staffing. The British government said the strike would result in fewer ambulances on the road, with only the most urgent life-threatening cases such as heart attacks to be prioritised. The government advised people not to play contact sports or take unnecessary car trips in order to reduce their risk of needing an ambulance. The UN Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution to renew the mandate of the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo for another year. The resolution extending the UN peacekeeping force, known as MONUSCO, until December 2023, strongly condemns all domestic and foreign armed groups operating in the country and demands they immediately cease all violence and destabilizing actions and the illegal exploitation and trafficking of natural resources. Arctic animals are enjoying the plummeting temperatures at Vienna Zoo, which experiences its first snow. A pack of Arctic wolves have changed their fur color to white, including the younger animals which not too long ago were completely brown. Winter-loving animals can enjoy watching other animals, including the Siberian tiger and a pair of vicunias, the smallest of the South American camelids.
Now in sports, millions of delighted football fans gathered in streets and squares of Buenos Aires on Tuesday to celebrate the country's grand victory in the 2020 FIFA World Cup. The World Cup winning team, led by Lionel Messi, arrived at midnight and boarded an open bus for a parade. The historic occasion inspired crowds to dress in light blue and white national colors as they poured into the city's streets and veins. Fans erupted, signing and waving the national flag in celebration of football's privileged victory. The parade lasted about 5 hours, and the Argentine Football Association decided to switch to helicopter parade for safety reasons.
Frustrated, I wanted to see them, but it was not possible. It makes you angry. It would be nice if they could do something so that all the people could get together and we could see them.
It's a great joy to see them fly over at least. We couldn't see them closer as we wanted, but that's what happens. That's what Argentina looks like.
The truth is, I thank Messi, everyone, everything that happened. Every day, the truth is that I'm very happy. And I thank the boys because my son next to me was crying. We shouted every goal as if it were the last final in the world. And we won.
Still with the Argentina celebration, unfortunately, some football fans clashed with police on its streets of Buenos Aires after the World Cup victory parade. According to local media, the clashes began when riot police tried to remove couple fans from the top of the obelisk monument in Republic Square. And due to this incident, scheduled plans to parade Argentina's triumph had to be abandoned for security matter. The French Football Federation has condemned the online racist abuse directed toward its players, particularly the striker Kingsley Coman and midfield Aurélien Tchouaméni, when they were subjected to online racist abuse after missing their penalties in the final. The French Football Federation pledged to take action, published Tuesday the following official press release. Following the World Cup final, several players from the French team were the target of unacceptable racist and hateful remarks on social networks. The French Football Federation strongly condemns these intolerable behaviors and abuses. The FFF has decided to file a complaint against the authors. And with the sports news, we come to an end to our news bulletin. Thank you ever so much for being with us. For now, good night.